Exciting time of the year, game week, finally here. Everything that we've been doing the last 7 months builds up to this moment of game week, and so great buzz and excitement on the practice field and the meeting room, and certainly here in Norman and college football. So really excited about this group of guys. Been I think just describing the team, a very competitive and confident group of guys, and we're anxious to kick off on Saturday night and see where we're at and see how good we can become. And really proud of the leadership in this football team. Really a player-led group of guys. A lot of guys heavily invested, and feel like they have a lot to prove. And I'm really excited about watching them come together, both sides of the ball. That part has been really cool to see. And sometimes you got to nurture that more than others. And this has been a really natural, a group of guys that have come together. And so I think the people in the locker room matter, and I think we got a lot of great young men. They're excited about competing and give us an opportunity to have a great year. So then I'll open it up. Mike?
Start on the right side, Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Brent, we've asked you a lot about the cornerbacks with Cortland and Jordan and things like that. I haven't heard you talk a lot about Jacoby Johnson, or maybe we haven't asked much about him. I want to ask you, how much different of a player is he now than he was last year, and what was it about the way that he's performed that earned him at least one of those oar spots?
Yeah, he had a terrific summer and spring, and just more confident as we've talked about him several times over the last year or so. He was a guy that really was maybe a little more polished receiver in high school, and played, again, country cover 3 as a corner, a tremendous athlete, as good of an athlete as we have on the roster, and he needed to learn how to hone his skills and fundamentals and understanding of how to play cornerback. And so it's been a process. He's worked incredibly hard. As a freshman, obviously, he was, I know I bragged on him a few different times, he was one of our best, most aggressive special teams players, and he still is that. But he's just matured, through a lot of hard work and development. Coach Valai's done a wonderful job at developing him, and he's put a lot of hard work, put himself in a position. So I think he's a lot more confident. He'd be the first one to tell you that he's just more confident playing corner, and he's learned from his, past mistakes along the way.
Yeah, Brent, do you know what you're getting out of John Mateer when he gets on the field Saturday? Or do you still have some curiosity about what you're going to see?
No, I don't. It was hard to – there's several other first-time players that you feel like maybe you don't know a little bit more about them and how they'll respond. I haven't thought about it other than I'm very confident in who he is. And maybe that is because I studied a lot of game tape of Washington State, lots, 2 years worth. And certainly he was on there a lot. So I felt like I knew him before he got here, what he's about, his makeup, his instincts, his skill, his capacity. And if anything, since he's been here, he's just such a likable guy. And when it comes to a football piece, you love having guys that you can count on, that they're not going to flinch. You're going to show up with the right mindset every day. He's going to lay it on the line. Cares about his teammates, cares about his coaches. He cares about his opportunity. And he's just got all the right guts and the toughness and the instincts. When he's had a few moments here since he's been here, and even watching him at Washington State when he's had some moments where he's had some adversity, he's always responded. And so I wouldn't expect anything different than the things that, I just said.
I know there's a lot of oars on that offensive line, but Fabechi, sole starter there at right guard. I know he started all 13 games there last year, but just how have you seen him improve, and what's impressed you most about what he's done over the last 8 months?
Yeah, he's changed his body, and then he just a much more confident player through, again, a year in the system, and then the whole out of season, being coached by Bill. So he's a lot more aggressive, much less timid, much more sure of himself. And he stepped into a leadership role as well through, again, just being one of our hardest workers, a guy that's, again, grateful for his opportunity, that resonates with his teammates, and he shows up every day, same thing. And he's, how can I help, make the team better? And certainly he's made himself better as well. But just more physical, more sure of himself, and more consistent.
Brent, we saw Cortland at the top of the depth chart as an oar as well. What separated him in that room with guys like Eli and Kendall out?
Yeah, he's just ultra aggressive, very confident but humble. He has great self-awareness, so he knows where he may lack, and but he's willing to attack it every day. He's super coachable, high energy. He's got a lot of passion to him. He's detailed. He's really learned from Eli and how to show up every day in the meeting room, take notes, be on the edge of your chair, show up prepared, show up alert, and taking all the knowledge that you can. And then he's one of the few young players that take everything you learn in the meeting room in a walkthrough, and he applies it. Not perfect. I don't want to paint him as the Thorpe Award winner right now, but he has a unique ability to apply it immediately. And when he makes a mistake, he learns from it quickly. And but so when he's failed, and he has failed plenty, he's gotten beat plenty of times. Man, does he respond? He doesn't go in the tank. He doesn't duck his head. He doesn't neglect the coaching. That's a part of that. He loves a challenge. And his teammates at school, he led us yesterday and some of the pre-practice stuff, and man, he got the hair on the back of your neck to stand up because of his passion and his energy. It was very different, and he got the team pretty excited. So he's got a lot of great qualities. Other than I didn't say anything about his length and his speed and his physical toughness. I feel like, again, when you watched him in high school, he was a guy very disruptive with the ball, had some rawness to him, but he always made plays on the ball, disrupted the ball. He plays. Some guys are long and they don't play that way, and he uses his length in a great way. But whether he's off, he's in zone, he's in man, he's done a lot of really good stuff on the field. And again, like I said, he's gotten, he hadn't won every competitive, play. So I don't want to, paint that picture. But he's got a lot of the other stuff that, man, you can't coach, and the coach can't want it more for him than he wants it for himself. And the young players, one of the hardest things for them to do coming from high school to college is the focused intensity every single day. And he's had that every day.
Brent, just a quick follow-up. Do you have any update on Eli and Kendall?
No updates.
And second, Ben and John have both talked about kind of almost changing the culture of the offense, celebrating small victories. John was talking about that yesterday, going back to the spring. How have you maybe seen that change in the offense from where it was a year ago when those two guys first got here?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to celebrate when there's nothing to celebrate and be excited about. And so, again, I think, when you have passionate people coaching, it's going to resonate. When you recruit passion, you recruit that too. You nurture it, you demand it, you display it, and as a leader, and again, but you also can recruit the fire, the passion, the energy, and I think they did a great job of be a tempo setter, a tone setter, if you will, from the jump, and having some success was obviously helps promote that and nurtures that as well, and I think it brings out the best in everybody around you as leaders. So super consistent that way. and you have competitive people that like to win, like to compete, that's the byproduct, of that. So done a wonderful job in that regard.
Brent, when you arrived, you talked a lot about development and retention, and you look up and down this defensive depth chart, and it's a lot of guys that signed with Oklahoma out of high school have stayed. But we've seen the improvement on the field, obviously, from that side of the ball. Is it proof that even in today's crazy world of college football, you can still identify guys, develop, and have a very, very successful model that's not over-reliant on all the chaos that happens in December and in January and that kind of stuff?
I think it's foundational. I think it's something that for us, we want to build a great program. It looks like that, where you do have a roster that, again, no roster is going to be immune from some disruption, but less is more in this regard. And I think that side of the ball in particular is a great example of what we want it to look like for the football program as a whole. And finding young guys that have a lot of the intrinsic values that you align with, that also happen to be talented. There's no shortcuts, as we know. So recruiting young men that understand this is a developmental game is an important piece. Why are those guys patient? Why did they continue to believe, even though it may not have happened for them right away? And you look at all those different guys, and they've all kind of been through different things along the way, whether it's Robert with a shoulder surgery, Gentry with 2 shoulder surgeries, R. Mason with ankle problems and weighing 215 pounds, Grayson Halton transitioning. He thought he was a tight end, out of high school. And as a 250-pound guy to a 300-pound, pass rushing demon. And the other guys, there's plenty of others, whether it's Kobe and Kip. Kobe McKenzie, he hurt his groin the first couple of days of spring ball as a true freshman. That freshman year, he's a little bit overweight. He really lacked confidence. His foot quickness, it wasn't where it needed to be. Staying on his feet, he fell down a lot. And the speed of the game was a lot. He'll be the first to tell you everything was in, fast motion for him. And he was overwhelmed and probably questioned himself, many a days coming off the field. But, man, to see where he's at now as both a leader and a player, he was arguably our most consistent linebacker all fall camp. He's really just stepped into a really strong leadership role. And as I told all the guys, there's had 7 guys elected captain, and he was right there close to, the other guys. But, man, you don't, being a captain is not a title. It's about action, it's about commitment, it's about being an example, and it's about influence and impact. And certainly Kobe has that. But Kip is the same thing. He's 190 pounds when he got here. He's 230 now. And those guys were 2s, and we redshirted them. They were 2s because we didn't have anybody else. We had 3 linebackers our first year, and David Awebu and Deshaun White and Danny Stutzman. And so those guys had to be ready. Jaron Kanik was the other. I think I was telling a story where Jaron got in his game as a freshman against Nebraska because Deshaun got kicked out, and he had 10 tackles, didn't know what he's doing. And but great athletes that have developed, matured. But again, just I'm a big believer. I've talked about it nonstop since I've been here. Your best players should be playing their best ball at the end, not the beginning, at the end of their collegiate career, for all the reasons I just said. How they think, how they act, how they play, their physicality, their mental toughness. The speed of the game, all of those things should be in their favor, the more experience that they have. And so we have an environment that promotes and nurtures, the path of least resistance, and just proud and thankful for those guys that they have great support systems at home, and they got the right kind of stuff into them. They have some stick-to-itness to them. And, we're the benefactors. I think, again, the evolution of the defense, where it's come, from where it was, has been tremendous. And without them, we wouldn't be where we're at for sure.
Behind Ryan, Jenny.
Hey, Brent, you obviously know this well as the head coach at OU. Obviously, there's personal responsibility, sort of care factor that comes with the job, just what is on your plate. But obviously, your time here previously, you helped rebuild this program, build it into a championship contender. I'm curious, as you look back on your first 3 years and now going into 4, just how does the time you spent here and your connection with really getting the program to this new elite level impact how you look on the first 3 years into year 4, just that personal responsibility you feel?
The personal responsibility, like what I own, or
And just sort of that care factor, I guess.
yeah, I've said this a lot. Anybody that knows me, I've never had one foot in one place and another foot in another place. I've incredibly invested in the moment. I'm very passionate. I love what I do. I'm grateful for what I get to do. I happen to have a head coach title. None of that has changed who I am when I show up every single day. I care about helping people have success. I care about and respect and value all of the joy that this program has brought to so many thousands upon thousands of Oklahomans, not only here in the state, but certainly in the state and across the country. And, I've been incredibly disappointed that we haven't been able to give, more reason for celebrating and excitement, with our end product. But I'm motivated by that. I think that's a byproduct of keeping your head down and doing everything that you can to help build the program, the right way. Certainly, you alluded to, 1999. Some things in football haven't changed. And there's plenty that certainly have, and the challenges, the headwinds, the environment that we're dealing with now. Like I had said, we had 63 new players, our first year, and so there's a lot that that you don't know in that new environment. It's the first time I'd been in a program in several decades where there was so much instability and how you got to kind of start completely over. And every year seemed like it's been a life of its own to me. And I've really approached it that way because of every year what the environment that we're in has changed tremendously. And but you learn and grow from all of it. You try to have a great self-awareness about where you can get better, where the program needs to get better, and all the different programs within the program, our systems and things of that nature, and continue to try to find the right people from a recruiting standpoint. That's the lifeblood of all of it. And, there's nothing that's more important than having the right guys in the locker room. And through it all, been proud of the hard work, disappointed in the lack of success at times, and but know without question that our best days are sitting in front of us, as we speak. So, never been more excited. But that's who I am. You can't fabricate it. I know how fortunate I am to be able to get to do what I get to do and who I get to do it with. And I have that perspective every single day. There's never a time for a pity party. I don't feel bad for nobody. Nobody feels bad for me. And that's just the way life is. And I've always had that mindset, the game ain't fair, life ain't fair. And but man, we have an amazing staff and we have an amazing locker room. And then I'm at one of the best football programs in college football history. This is pull up to the Switzer Center every single day. So tremendous responsibility and what I have to own. And I want to put a product that everybody that loves Oklahoma is incredibly proud of how we do it, and certainly the what part of it, and the having the success ultimately that we want on the season.
Joe Masato, next to Jenny.
Yeah, Brent, when you got here, everyone could sort of see with that defensive line to compete in the SEC, you all needed more talent, more depth. Just from where you were then to where you are now, can you just provide some context of, some of the challenges it took to get to where you are now at that specific position group?
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out, and we had some some good older players that did a great job leading and showing up every day, doing what we asked them to do. But again, we had one, maybe two guys that were 300 pounds, and we just needed to get better in every area on defense, and starting with culture, mindset, expectations, standards, how we practice, what player-led workouts need to look like in the summertime, ambition, connection. I mean, there wasn't an area that we didn't need to attack, and we had a lot of work to do. I thought the staff did an amazing job, identifying players, developing relationships, developing the trust to create the buy-in, because what we were asking them to do was really demanding, and making sure that there was an alignment with what excellence needed to look like every single day, and everybody had to take ownership in it, player and coach. So it's a long process, and but you see again, I think there's a picture of what that looks like. We just talked about that, with Grayson and R. Mason, for example. Those guys up front, and then again, same thing. What we're looking for in the players that we're recruiting, and fitting all that into a puzzle. But man, our defensive staff, just love them to death. Great coaches, great football minds, amazing human beings, great continuity and chemistry on the staff, and it resonates to the players. You can't have dysfunction on the staff and this amazing cohesion, with the players, or vice versa. So, that's, again, these coaches they wanted by everybody, just like the players, man. These guys could go, you just name the top 10 schools, they can go get a job like that tomorrow if they chose to. But they love Norman, they love each other, they love the players, they love what we're building. And that's my challenge to everybody, man. Build something that, man, you're proud of, and finish what you started, and these guys have done that. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and in some moments it can be overwhelming. You're literally teaching guys how to get into stances, and so we had a lot to work through. And I chose not to, ask anyone to leave when I first got here. Just let me give everybody a fair shot and just kind of see where we're at. And through time, some players chose to leave. Some players just weren't fitting the bill when it come to going to class and living right off the field. As a football program, we had a lot of issues. The first year, we had guys weren't going to class. We had a 2.2 team GPA, and a lot of guys that didn't pass drug tests. A lot. And so what comes with that? Lack of motivation, lack of synergy, lack of, again, ambition. And so and there were some, broken spirits too, and guys that maybe weren't confident on what we could become. So, changing the mindset, how we thought, the thinking part of it, how we viewed ourselves, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? And so in a lot of guys, we didn't have this false confidence. So it's not taking a shot at anybody, or, I'm grateful for the players that were here and helped us kind of get to this point. But the bottom line is we needed, we had to start completely over in many ways. And it's been a lot of fun too. You don't sit back and celebrate it. There's no badge of honor with it. It's getting closer to what we want, and but not where we want it to be yet.
Time to get through a few more outlets. On Ohio, Davis Cordova.
Yeah, Brent, I know you've been asked about Portland already, but what about his mentality has impressed you the most? And also, does he remind you of any
players you've coached in the past in terms of being a freshman?
Yeah. What was the first part of your question?
His mentality.
Yeah, his mentality. He would be what you would call a dog. Just really tough mentally and physically. He, again, loves to compete. He's just hungry. And it's not like he's out there self-promoting or I'm going to be the best ever. He's not like that. He's super humble, raised the right way. He loves his teammates. He's a great teammate. He'd be third on the depth chart. He'd be cool. Just whatever opportunity I get, I'm going to go dominate, that moment. And but he's just quickly earned his way, to the top. And but he's done it just in a blue collar kind of way, just showing up every day with the right mindset, with the right attitude, with the right humility, with the right work ethic. And as I said, man, he's lost plenty of battles, but he's gotten better through those. A lot of guys, they get it's a setback, a temporary setback, and so far so good for him. He's taken a beating, if you will, in a good, healthy way, and gotten better from it. And that's the choice they all have, but they all don't respond that way. So he just has a mental maturity and a competitive maturity to him that has lended him kind of an opportunity to kind of get up here in some rare air, if you will, as a young player. But, we'll see the challenges of the season are right in front of us. But excited about, what his future looks like without question.
Same row, Eli Letterman. Brent?
Talk to people at Washington State, they'll tell you about how Ben Arbuckle came in with a plan and also really invested in relationships so people would buy into that plan.
Yeah.
When you think about your staff and even your own experience this offseason, where did he do a good job of that? How did he go about doing that?
Well, I think he quickly built bridges with the staff. And I think he evaluated the staff during that whole bowl prep time. And I thought he did a great job of just laying out the expectations. This is how we're going to do it. But I think he did it before he did that, I think he built the relationships and the trust with the staff. And they're all great guys. I mean, they're football guys. They've all had tremendous success at different points in their careers. And so successful people get it on how to, mesh with other people. And so he did a great job with that. And then, with the players, he did it, the first couple of days on the job and that over several days, one-on-one with every guy on offense. And then he built relationships with the defensive side of the ball too, special teams. And he's young in age, but he's got a maturity about him that he understands, what it takes to win and be successful. I tried to give him some guidance along the ways on, hey man, this is kind of what some of these areas need. This is my advice. Do with the advice whatever you choose. But I thought he did a great job of taking that charge in a really healthy, positive way, and then laying out very clear expectations and standards. And so a really effective communicator when it comes to both the football side, the relationship side, and then he's very passionate. He's got great strength, but he's also got great passion and energy. And people, that's contagious. The flip side is if you're not that, that's contagious as well. If you don't have energy, if you don't have enthusiasm, if you don't have passion for what you do, day in, day out. So he's done a great job with all those things.
You talked about Ben Arbuckle shifting the culture, celebrating passion, but just his mindset too. How excited are you about his mindset and how that's going to translate to the SEC?
Well, I think it translates to the game of football more, and it's conference-centered, and it aligns, with who I want us to be. The coaches need to show up with passion and energy and fire and enthusiasm every single day. The players are gonna, feed off of that. The players, don't necessarily listen to what you say. They watch to how you do what you do, and so if they don't, the coaches don't, the players won't. So I think it translates very well. with our locker room and with the rest of our staff, and certainly with the vision that I have for what I want it to look like day in and day out. And he loves to coach. He coaches every snap. I value that. I think that, that's why, again, they call us coach. Is we're not just there to observe, man. We would need to be an active participant every play in the development of our players. And they're either meeting the standard or they're not. And we got to help them, through all of it to develop the team in an expeditious way. And he gets that. He has a sense of urgency, a sense of desperation. I know you all spoke to him earlier. I'm sure he displayed some of those qualities. But he's a guy that he's going to lead from the front, just like, his quarterback has. And so the players are always going to be a reflection of their coach, and how the player leads and competes, goes to class. All of those things are a reflection of the respect they have for their opportunity and the respect they have for their coach that they represent every day.
Brent, just the battle between Kobe and Sammy throughout, and how much better is Kobe because of what Sammy's bringing out of it?
Yeah, a lot better. And but both of them have improved. Sammy had a transition to make, going outside to inside, and he played all outside in high school as well. Super athletic, as y'all know, and transitioning inside. Sometimes it happens overnight, and a lot of times it doesn't ever happen. Finding the ball and block recognition, play diagnosis, the instincts behind the balls is always a little bit different than playing on the edge and just keeping your outside arm free. And I love the work that Sammy has put in and helped get Kobe better. But that group, as I said after the spring, I was a little bit, I didn't feel great. I knew our numbers weren't what they had been. And I had my fingers crossed for K5 and how quickly he could pick things up. And the quicker he could, the more it would help us look at, how everybody could fit together. And but Sammy and Kobe, they've had this great maturity about the competition, and they pull for each other. I love that. It's not a thing I take for granted. It doesn't happen like that. It gets funky, and it ain't fun. And I think it prevents you from ultimately being who you want to be as a team, and certainly as leaders, and certainly in that group. And man, they've had great competition, great humility. Everybody's gotten better through it all, and both of them have shown that they're capable of playing winning football and helping us win. And they got great respect from their teammates too, as leaders.
Brent Venables telling us that he's going to call plays from the field, and I know every coordinator has their reasons for why they do it one way or another, but when you've got a brand new offense like this, is there something to be said for him being in the huddle and eye to eye with the guys?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody has a different comfort level, and but I think that's a real experience to be able to have on the sideline, to get the pulse of your players, for them to feed off of your intensity and the focus and the details and the passion, the toughness, your coaching response, and you're developing that nonstop. And so game day, is just an extension of that. And, I feel like, a lot of coaches, we put so much pressure on them at practice every day on the field. We get that field view, that field level. We have a comfort with that. Some guys don't like that on game day. They can't see what happened over there. And, and then some coaches like, man, that went through the B-gap, and that's Larry. And, get Larry straight. And but Ben has and he's the architect of the offense along with Coach Kusiewski, and they've got a frickin' frack, relationship. And Ben is, again, he's a hands-on, passionate guy. So I think he'll bring the best out of everybody, not just the quarterbacks, but the best out of everybody, players and coaches both, by being, in the huddle. And it's a very pure place to be. But on game day, you also want to be a vessel of support. The players are playing the game, So I do think that, the best coaches have the ability to allow the players to play free on game day. And I think, we'll see that, with Ben on game day.
Last two will be on the right side, James Jackson and then Cliff Brunt. James.
Yeah, Coach, I know it's a lot of looking at last year's tape, but what do you know about Illinois State and their keep track?
Wow, that's the first. How far into the press conference? 35 minutes. So you guys ever complained how long my opening statement is? Ever? Maybe snarky. Most of you haven't. Just a few of you. So just a few of you have. We are playing a game. We're kicking off against a playoff team. Coach Brock has done an amazing job. We know, I think 17 years he's been there, the winningest all-time coach in the program's history. He's been a winner for a long time. Again, they were a playoff team a year ago, won 10 games. They've got a great culture and foundation. You don't stay somewhere that long without doing things the right way and having success as well. I think he has 25 more wins than the second most successful coach in the history of that program. So at every level, man, that's big time. That's cool to see. Big fan of what he's represented for a long time. I know I think they're preseason number 6 in the country, and a lot of people think a lot about their team that they have, and their strength is in their front 7 on defense. It's where the most experience returns, and I'm sure they've recruited well in their secondary with players in the secondary, and then they're really good on offense. The strength of their football team, in my opinion, has been their offense. The quarterback's thrown for over 3,000 yards, incredibly accurate, really fast, athletic. Not real tall, but, man, he's got a quick release, great accuracy. He got a Jacob Jordan, Hunter Renfrow type of slot receiver that catches everything, caught 65-plus balls. They have a outside receiver that caught 85, 86 balls a year ago, big guy that can really run. The other side, they've got a track guy that can take the top off the defense. And they got a running back that's back-to-back years has rushed for over 1,000 yards, big, strong, physical. They know who they are. They're good at what they do. And it's a team that, again, they opened up at Iowa last year. They moved the ball really well, particularly in the first half. They sputtered out in the red zone a few times, but they made explosive plays against a really good defense, and both running and throwing. And so it'll be, and I told the team, what I'm telling you. At the end of the day, it's going to be about us. I want to see where we're at. I'm excited to see where we're at. There's going to be some things that we love, what happens on Saturday, and some things that we're not going to like. And it's about, again, developing this football team and attacking every challenge that's in front of us. And certainly, Illinois State coming in, again, like a lot of teams in college football, this is the opener, man. Our first goal on our short set of goals is to win the opener, but we want to play well. We want to play in an efficient way where it's clean football, taking care of the football. Obviously, a year ago, we all know nothing impacts a game like turnovers, and that's kind of how really those. Talking about the first 3 years that I've been here, when we haven't played well, usually we're on the wrong side of their turnover margin. In 23, when we won 10 games, the 3 losses, we had 12 turnovers, 6 in the regular season and 6 in our bowl game, and several defensive touchdowns, and same story here last year. So taking care of the football, keeping our quarterback clean, providing a good, strong, clean pocket. This is a defense that's going to be aggressive against us and test us that way. And make competitive plays, hold on to the ball, run and throw, in an efficient way, and tackling. You want a good physical tackling defense, and no pre-snap penalties. Offsides, procedures, not lining up the right way, things of that nature, and that's really. And you want to stay healthy and get better. That's kind of the vision that we have, and so it's not as much about, you have to know the DNA of your opponent, obviously, but it's about, again, how we play, our physicality, how relentless we pursue the football, our ability to, be in the right positions, and so there's a lot of pre-snap communication. A loud football team is usually a good football team, and the communication has got to happen on both sides of the ball. So just want to be really good and a lot of the basics, nail the basics, be healthy, find a way to get the win, and play in a good, clean way, and then move on, to our next opponent from there.
All right. It's interesting, you just touched on some smaller things going into the opener. I want to talk about some maybe broader things. I've got a broad question that picks up on some of the things you've already been asked. I want to ask about on-field identity going forward, but I want to take you back briefly so you'll understand fully what I'm getting at. See, I grew up in Omaha. I was a Nebraska fan. There were some things that you could depend on year after year with those guys. You had Tom Osborne, you had the big offensive linemen, the in-state guys, the walk-on program. They ran that ball down your throat with that I formation triple option. You knew the black shirts were going to hit hard, they're going to fly around. OU, the arch nemesis of the team I grew up watching. They had Barry Switzer, they ran the wishbone, Texas Speed, Swagger, Sooner Magic, all those things. The point is, everybody knew what they were getting when you saw Nebraska or Oklahoma on the schedule. Identity is important, but maybe harder to set, as you said earlier, because so many things changing in college football. My question for you is, aside from the obvious, which is you want to win, what are some specific things that you want to establish this season as the on-field identity of OU football, as you try to build something this season and beyond?
Yeah, again, tough and physical, blue collar, explosive on offense. I want a team that runs the ball well in a good physical way, lots of different ways, create explosive plays, make the competitive plays, with our playmakers. And again, on defense, man, something that you can count on, create field position, stop the run, terrorize the quarterback on third downs, dominate third downs, and play with passion, energy, physicality, and relentless effort. And so all three phases of the game, should be game changers. Special teams, when we make our kicks, play the field position game very well, and have our guys completely bought into the effort, the details, and the tenacity that it takes to play great special teams, as well.